So this week in Wolfram, we're going to work on our first knowledge of Wolfram data repositories. And so there's a lot of special commands that we need. And so we're just going to do this lesson. So use data from the Wolfram data repository. Okay, so I give you a link to that. You can go through and try this. You can choose whatever data you want. Okay, I'm going to give you an example and show you some of my struggles with the data repository. Okay, and so here's the data repository that I chose. It was called Sample Data, Solar System Planets and Moons. Okay, and when I copied the example, so here's the sample data, and it said copy the resource data. So I copied the resource data, but you'll notice that I don't get everything. And that's because in the specification it says just take the info for Earth and Mars. Okay, so that's what I got initially. Okay, and so as in anything where there isn't a lot of documentation, you have to try. So give it a try on this data set that you used if you only get partial. So what I said is, well, what if I just add a couple of other planets? Okay, so I added a couple more planets, and then I got a whole bunch. And amazingly, Saturn has 62 moons. And so the data set shows all these moons for Saturn, and okay, and so it doesn't. It's kind of clever how it does it. It says there's 62 total. So if you click on it, you can see all of Saturn's. But here's kind of a condensed version. So it gives you the first one or two from each. Okay, and I'd forgotten that Mars has 2 moons. Okay, our moon's heavier, I guess. Yeah, look at our moon's heavier, but it's not that big compared to these other moons. So that's interesting. So there's some work we could do. So I'll come back to this after I learn more. But then you say, well, I want to get for everything. And so if you leave off this specification of which rows you want to see, then I got all of them. Okay, so I got all of them. Okay. And so then, if you look at this use data, it says, well, try expressions like this, like try content elements. So I tried that on resource. Well, so you'll see the painful process I went through. So I tried it on resource data. Well, then I looked and said, well, why is that not working? Okay. So then I said, oh, I should have done resource object. But when I do that, look what it does. All it gives me, I say, tell me the content elements of resource object. It just gives me the data set, okay? Whereas if I go back and look at, say, this one, it has column descriptions, column names, raw data. And I guess maybe for this data set about the planets, I figured they didn't need extra descriptions. But it is a little strange because it does have column names. So I'm not sure why we didn't get anything. So then I said, all right. And I looked around and I looked in my definition of sample data. And it has this example of radius. So resource data. And then I say in the second specification, all comma radius. Well, first I thought I'd be the smart aleck, and I just did all to see everything. And I thought the computer had frozen up, and then I input the command again and again, so I got all this stuff because I had done several. So I learned my lesson, and I say, oh, okay, that's why you don't do all, because it takes too long. So you do all, and then you say, oh, I want everything, but specifically give me radius. So all planets, I guess, the radius. Okay, so there's all these rows, and of those rows I want the field that says radius. And then I said, well, give me all moons. Now the interesting thing for me is that if you look at this data set, you say, okay, I got mass, radius, and then I got radius here as a subfield of moons. Okay, so moons have a field, radius. How can I ask for just the radius of the moons? Okay, so that's my goal is to figure that out. I don't know how to do that. So I've been looking at, and I'm going to see if I can find an example. And that's how far I got. Okay, I went and I said I wanted to get moon's radius. So your assignment for this week is to find a data set you're interested in, poke around a little bit in it, and make a notebook like I've done. Okay? And then, but make it one that you're interested in so that we can go and do some more research as we get better at looking at these.